suddenly you realize, wait, there's Oz here. There is something behind the curtain.
Right, right, right.
I exist beyond my thinking and my feeling and my strategies for life and my belief systems and my preferences and my decisions and my choice making and all of that structure that within which I dwell. There is a me, I exist beyond that.
Welcome to Letting Go and the Greatest Secret, where we explore the end of your suffering and the beginning of lasting happiness. I'm Hale, and today we'll be talking with award-winning filmmaker, educator, and transformational coach, Barnet Bain. Barnet Bain is the author of The Book of Doing and Being and the third story, Awakening the Love That Transforms. He directed the film Milton's Secret, starring Donald Sutherland, based on a novelette by Eckhart Tolle. Producer of the Oscar-winning What Dreams May Come, starring Robin Williams. Emmy Award nominee producer of Homeless to Harvard. Producer of The Celestine Prophecy, and director of The Lost and Found Family.
The rose does not know it is the bulb.
Right.
The leaves and the thorns do not know they are the rose.
Right.
And at the point where they realize they are one, no aspect of the calyx or the bloom is diminished.
Right.
No part of any of the components of a system is diminished.
Right.
But the awareness that you are both separate and connected as one. And so there is not much to be gained in speaking to the bulb as if it was the bloom.
Right. Or the thorns or the stem or anything else. Right.
Exactly. So in my life, I am aware where people are. I'm aware of the ways that I can learn and grow from them, and the ways that I can respond and give and respond and respect them. And if somebody is mired in their psychological, I think of it as like those bird's nests that we used to do as children with the strings. Remember that?
Oh, yes. Cat's cradle. Yes.
Cradle. Yes, if they are in their cat's cradle, I
wish it was that organized. For most people, it's a cat. Remember when we were young, there was a cat's cradle and you got it all wrong and your fingers were all tangled and that made no sense. There was just chaos. There was no real pattern.
The perfect metaphor.
Yeah.
Perfect metaphor. So yes, this is a critical developmental stage.
Yes.
And there are, the possibilities exist, and we have these shining beacons of sudden gestalts of awareness downloads, and people are suddenly open to realization. Yes, that's true. And the more customary journey of growth through lifetimes is the unpacking, the becoming close and tender with our cat's cradle of cause and effect and of strategy, and this happened and therefore I will compensate in that way, and how we build our psychological nest. And as we can become aware and intimate with that and compassionate about it, any little boy or girl who had been through these things would create adaptive systems and beliefs and structures without realizing they're living now inside of it.
Yes.
And it will continue to perpetuate itself and seek out validations for its views, for what filters through it. So it is more likely than a sudden gestalt that people work through. They've come to understand their menu or their cat's cradle. They come to understand their psychology. Mm-hmm. And they mature enough to be able to allow it to operate without to relate to it, not to be identified with it.
Right, right.
And then the big game begins.
Right.
Then
right.
you're in the big game. Then suddenly you realize, wait, there's Oz here. There is something behind the curtain.
Right, right, right.
I exist beyond my thinking and my feeling and my strategies for life and my belief systems and my preferences and my decisions and my choice making and all of that structure that I dwell, that within which I dwell. There is a me. I exist beyond that.
Yes.
Beyond the dance floor, there's a dance hall, and I am that.
Right, 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 right.
So that's a very different conversation when we suddenly become lucid in the living.
Yes.
Lucid living. You realize I'm going all over here, but it's a pleasure to do it. So thank you.
Oh, no, it's fun. No.
I remember many years ago, I went to art school, to film school in the UK when I was a boy. And I can remember walking down Regent Street with my very large, big hair and a briefcase, and very young boy, and feeling very important, and off to a meeting, and a double-decker bus thundered by, and it hit a pothole, and a sheet of muddy water came up, doused me, and I was enraged, and I could swear that the conductor was hanging off the back of the bus, and that he was. I didn't know whether he was laughing, probably, because that's the way I looked at the world in those days, me versus the world.
Right, right.
And at that moment, the alarm went off in my bedroom, and I woke up in my little apartment in downtown Manhattan. And for this brief period, this liminal period, I was neither in the London experience or in the New York experience, but both and. And there was a distinction there. In the London experience, I suddenly realized I was dreaming the entire experience. But in that one, in the London experience, there was this little skin encapsulated avatar and I viewed the world through his eyes. And yet I was the creator of it all, not just my little avatar, but the bus, the water, the mud, the buildings, the broken glass beneath my feet. I generated it all.
Yes, yes.
And didn't know it. The difference between that experience, both are true. Both are true. One is more empowered, but both are true, equally true. The experience of me in my bed was as the awakened dreamer, realizing I was the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So likewise, lest we think for a moment that that is not the situation here, I urge our listeners to consider the possibility that maybe we can become lucid and awakened and realize that we are in some ways the creator, or involved in the creation, mightily involved in this, in the imagining of this, and become more lucid in it and more compassionate to our other dream aspects. It changes the way one behaves, when gives, responds, when respects to everything else in the domain. Everything, everyone, everything, it changes from that perspective. So, and then back to the beginning of the question. So for those that I can revel in that kind of conversation with you, it's one kind of conversation. There's one kind of ecstatic explosion of participation in it. And for others, it is different kind of giving.
Yeah, well, each unique expression of that which we all are interprets that shared expression differently. And that's all part of the harmony, part of the one expression. It's actually beautiful to watch, in my experience. It's very beautiful to watch that the parts of that which I am and you are, that's awake to what they are, and the parts that still asleep. There isn't any difference, except that it appears that way to that particular dreamer. But there isn't a difference.
No, there is not a difference. There is a quality of the dreaming that is shaped by our lucidity.
Yes.
When the light goes on, there is a quality of the dreaming that is non-local, that is system-wide, that is
Yes.
domain-wide.
Yes.
And thank goodness that the constricted self has relatively little impact system-wide.
Oh, yes, system-wide is very little impact at all.
Because there is simply, I always have this image of the scales of justice that.
Yes.
Fortunately, the scales of justice are not evenly weighted. The scales of impact when it comes to consciousness, when it comes to awareness.
Yes.
They are not, the amount of constriction and the amount of contraction and that is played out as control and domination and not healthy, inspiring competition, but I will crush you.
Right.
All of that stuff, just a drop of love. Right. Ruins the whole thing.
Yeah, it spoils it. That's often why I lead with love when I work with people and in my teachings, is because nothing stands up to love. It doesn't even have a slight chance.
Love is so loving that it is so embracing.
Yes.
That it makes room for all of that other stuff.
Right.
You want to go there? Okay. It only says yes.
Yes, exactly. And again, it's a beauty of the system that one molecule of water doesn't shift the ocean. The ocean is still ocean.
Still ocean.
Yes. But from perceiving it as that molecule of water, recognizing that you're more than just one molecule of water is a revelation.
It is a revelation that is expressed in an excitation, in a vibration, in an exhilaration that ripples across the pretend that we have of time and space. That little kind of donut, or that little torus of time ripples through the whole system. Ripples through the whole system. So of course, of this spectacular metaphor, as powerful a metaphor for this as ever come across, is the story in Hindu mythology of Indra's net.
Yes.
Familiar with that? Yes. So for the benefit of our listeners, the demigod Indra had a palace, and over his palace, he ordered a fisherman's net that extended infinitely in every direction. And in the crossweave of this net, the fisherman's net, there was woven a jewel or a pearl, a wonderful jewel. And the magic of this is that when when you look closely at each of these gems, at these jewels, the jewels reflected every other jewel in the net. This perfect, perfect metaphor for being separate and one simultaneously. So to extend that metaphor to what you just said, Hale, one pearl. The light goes on, says, I am one with the whole system.
Right, right.
That light goes on and is reflected infinitely across the domain of the entire net. There's a reflection of that awareness in the darkest gem in the net. Still has a reflection of that. It's still a potential.
Yes, yes. And in that analogy that you're using, even a black pearl appears not to reflect any light at all is still extremely beautiful.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful. And the beauty of a black pearl that reflects no light, it is not immune from, it receives light.
Yes. It receives all light.
It doesn't give it back, but it
right.
receives it. And so it is not immune from love.
No, definitely not.
Even the darkest constriction is not separate from love.
Right. It's true.
So
Beautifully put. Also, what I love about the whole thing too is it's this process of our rediscovering that which we truly are is not a personal process. It's completely impersonal. So every pearl is at its own perfect place in that rediscovery. And it's not rediscovering for it, it's rediscovering for the whole system, for every pearl.
Yes, that's the net effect of the net. It's the net effect. In my own experience, as my personal, I'll use this language, it's risky language. I don't mean it as a diminution in any way.
Mm-hmm.
In any way. There is a lesser me, not less than me, just less cylinders firing.
Right.
There's a lesser me and grander me's.
Uh-huh.
So as I close the gap, become integrated,
Yes.
receive and be received by the more, there is an excitement. There's a palpable thrill to it. There's a joy to it. There's a
joy for sure, yeah.
To it. It is both like and totally unlike the feeling of first love. But it's like that in that it's such a palpable experience. It's totally unlike that because it's not about me and it's not
right. It's not about two.
It's not about
one.
3 pieces. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a sense of tumbling. It feels to me like tumbling home, rolling downhill.
Yes.
Tumbling home. Yes. So for our listeners who some of whom may have certain thoughts and feelings and some clutter that stands in the way of their experience of that. What we're talking about is a sense of you with a capital Y. And some call it all kinds of things, God or awareness or consciousness or you or higher self, all kinds of things.
Yes.
The dance
Many
floor, the dance
names.
hall. I am a story maker and a filmmaker, and
Beautiful one too.
thank
I
you so
love your
much.
films.
Thank you so much. So the early Greek theater and even up to Shakespeare's day, theater happened, storytelling. In our dimensional experience, we make meaning through narratives and through stories. But these
Yes,
stories
yes,
were shared in the round, always in the
yes.
round. It's a modern function to actually create a proscenium arch. It is an indication of yet another expression of how we go.
Separation, yes.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. I don't even want to share my stories fully so I'll create another layer. But so if we imagine like the Globe Theater of Shakespeare's Globe Theater, there is the play on stage.
Yes.
And imagine ourselves involved in the players, in the play, the play of our lives, all the world's a stage and we're in it. And if we can remove our focus, our consciousness from being on stage to sitting in the balcony, somewhere in the round of the theater, now we begin to change the center of gravity from being in the drama to watching. I am
Yes,
now the
yes.
space that holds it.
Yes.
Things begin dramatically to change because now we are now opening up space beyond our thinking and feeling and even our physical processes. And we're becoming the space wherein that plays out.
Yeah. Well, we become the theater.
We become the theater. We want to bring the relationship, we want to bring the identification with the theater. We want to relate to what's happening on the stage, but identify with the theater. We want to bring that identification with the theater into the moment by moment experience of our daily lives. You want to bring that into how you relate to yourself, to others, to people, to things, to traffic, to you want to bring
All of it. All of it.
all of it.
And again, that's the integration, to see yourself reflected in all form, and yet notice that you're also that which is shining through all form at the same time is beautiful. And
And you
it's
will
really,
shine differently.
that's right, of course.
You
Well,
will
each,
shine differently.
no, totally, because each form is still a unique expression. People worry about that, or they forget about that. They think, oh, I'm just going to be empty. Yes, you'll be empty of any specific identification, but you'll be full of that which defies description. And yet
Wind, you will be wind
brings,
through a flute. You will not lose your sense of self as a flute, but you will experience the joy of the music that is expressed through you. You are wind through a flute.
right. Mm-hmm. Beautifully said. So how is the one living through you now? What's bringing you the most? It doesn't experience doesn't really bring joy.
No, it's
But
not projects.
right,
Projects are fun. It's not projects. It is my willingness to be. The language is unfortunate.
it is. What are you going to do?
It's very difficult to parse it into. It's very difficult to parse it into language.
I think you'll like this. I say sometimes in my seminars, I say language is just symbols representing concepts about that which never really was.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It's about concepts about, and the concepts are usually, expressions that are they're inventions. They're all inventions. There are no, just when things are true until the next truth,
Right,
and
right, right.
until the superseding truth. So there is I'm having an experience of opening to love.
Hmm. That's a fun one to be involved in.
So it's not really so much about a project or that tree. That's me.
Right.
This bottle, it's me.
Yes, yes, yes.
So what could be bad in that?
I don't
Or
know.
here's something I think everyone can relate to. Uh, Imagine yourself dreaming in a night dream, and then for those of us that have had the fun experience of suddenly you can fly in your night dreams.
Right, right. Those are fun. Yeah.
That's what this is.
Yes.
I have yet to fly or walk on water. That's not the point. but
No.
The exhilaration of that is that's a pretty good indicator.
Yes. Yes, I agree. I love this quote from Nisargadatta Maharaj. He says, and I'm probably paraphrasing, he says, when I know I am nothing, that is wisdom. When I know I am everything, that is love. And my life is the interplay between those two.
That is profound and beautiful.
Yes, it's one of my favorite Nisargadatta quotes.
That's profound and beautiful. That is the poet's expression of what I've been holding is that wisdom. Wisdom is the knowing. It is a knowing without certainty, beyond logic and reason.
Yes, yes.
Without losing sight of logic and reason.
Yes, yes.
Not nearly the poetry, but the same essence, the same aiming to express the same inexpressible. It's inexpressible.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
But it responds to invitation, and we can open ourselves to practices to both invite and create space for that. It is there are ways to attune to this superseding aliveness.
Yes.
One of the practices that gives me a lot of joy and well-being, comfort, is I take my pulses.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know how to take our pulses at the wrist or the neck point, and particularly in bed at night, I'll take my pulses. And I just want to have my attention, my awareness on the, it's one thing to tune to awareness itself.
Mm-hmm.
That can sometimes be a stress, particularly if there's a lot of mind activity and the wild horses of our thinking are.
Right.
I attune to my pulses, and I just allow myself to focus on the aliveness.
Yes.
Just the aliveness. Or to take breaths and to bring my attention to the energy In the East, they call that the chi, the tingling, the energy, the aliveness in my body.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't want to shake a stick in the termites' nest of everybody's thinking now, but the aliveness.
Why not?
It's not a physical. That is not a biological thing.
No, it's definitely not.
No,
Mm-hmm.
So there are those that that want to go and make explanations. It's not about making explanations and figuring things out. It's you simply you bring your attention to the aliveness in your body. There's a tingling, or you can imagine a warm light, a sun in your solar plexus, or anywhere in your body, anywhere. And feel it. Just feel that aliveness, this awareness, or you take 5, 6 breaths, or charge breaths, sympathetic breaths, not parasympathetic, relaxing breaths. Build a charge. Mm-hmm. And feel that, just feel those swirls and feelies that go through your whole body. So 2 things happen. Is one, it brings you into, it closes, it pulls away some of the veils between you and awareness, between your thinking self and your awareness. And number 2, it reduces the thought stream.
Yes. Yes. Well, there's a sweet invitation in the breath and in the heartbeat, because it's actually a function of love. It's the way love expresses through the physical body. And if you just focus on that simple expression without overthinking it, it pulls you into that heart space.
It's delicious. Delicious, so simple.
Yes. Yeah, I love little things like that. And whenever I find one, I tend to share it because they're fun.
Give me one. See, when I have a little brown satchel in and I stuff all these tools in there.
Well, one of the things I like to look at is, in this moment, what is the same? The mind calibrates to difference. But the thing that's the same in this moment is that which is changeless, that which is effortless, timeless, spaceless, yet ever present. And when you pay attention to that which is the same, it also just enlivens and opens that sense of heart or sense of love and beauty and stillness, because that is always the same. We don't always see it because we don't pay attention to it. We calibrate to this difference and that difference and this difference. We get buffeted about by all the differences. But it's in that exquisite, changeless sameness of beauty or light or love or just being that that which we truly are reveals itself to itself. So that's one I like.
That's a good one. That's a good one. It reminds me of another one that I like.
Yes.
We can stop this anytime, but
no, this is fun. This is fun.
So no matter what the circumstances are, there could be construction outside. I could be walking down Park Avenue in Manhattan, and horns are honking, and no matter what the cacophony is.
Yes.
Or just a sweet movement of a breeze through the aspens, no matter how gentle or how cacophonous the circumstances are. I tune for the bed in which it lays.
Yes.
Silence. It exists in a silence. There are
Yes.
moments, and in words, the words get laid out like throwing grains of rice into a spring, and they float down the spring. I
Yeah.
to the silence, which is the spring,
Right, 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 right.
which is the stream, and that is the more.
Hmm.
There's no mind there.
Right. Well, actually, there's no mind anywhere. It just appears that way.
Exactly. There's no psychological
No, no, no.
construct.
Yes, there's no construct. Right, exactly.
I'm not fragmented there. I am whole there,
Yes, exactly.
and that's wonderful. And another one, really quickly, is to be constantly alert to beauty, which is a direct communication from awareness, from consciousness itself, from
Yeah.
your view. Direct communication. There is no logic in beauty.
Yes.
No logic whatsoever. I mean, if you the best that one can do about beauty is to say that it's a simultaneous experience of um, ecstasy and serenity.
Yes.
Now the
Yes.
mind goes freaking crazy with that. What? It can only do one thing at a time, let alone celebration and contemplation simultaneously.
Yes.
So this beauty there should not be a place for beauty. There is no place for beauty in the psychological construct. Doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't exist.
So you attune to beauty through the day. There's that wonderful movie it's years ago, American Beauty. Remember that?
Yes. Yes.
He put the camera on this plastic bag caught in the. Do you remember that this bag blowing in the wind, stuck in this plastic bag blowing around in the wind, and it was so exquisitely beautiful.
It's true. It's true.
So
There's that.
you'll find it everywhere.
Yeah. There's that. This just one of the ways the one self expresses itself, or not expresses itself. It's a place that it can touch, reach beyond the mind, because beauty, and everyone, it's a universal thing, because no matter where you are psychologically, when you actually notice beauty, it stops the mind, and you are this sense of separation between you and what you're perceiving as beautiful disappears. That's why it's called beauty.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember the first, one of the first times I experienced that, I was maybe 8 years old or younger. I was at camp, and there was this exquisitely beautiful sunset. They were clouds that were purple with orange behind them, and there was something about it that just completely stopped the mind. And I didn't understand that's what was happening until decades later, but the mind disappeared and there was just beauty. And what's wonderful about that is it's a universal experience that everyone listening to this has had, where you're just that sense of suffering and contraction and noise, or whatever where we usually live, is swept away in the beauty.
Absolutely.
Eh,
I have a sense. I have my own. Well, everybody's story is their own story. So
sure.
my story is that beauty is a direct communication from from awareness. That it is a communication that penetrates our construct. It penetrates our what was the language? Not the bird's nest. I forgot
the cat's cradle. Yes.
The cat's cradle. It penetrates the cat's cradle of our strategies and our adaptive behaviors. Beauty just goes straight through it.
Right through it. And again, it doesn't really matter how many strings you have on your fingers. There's still more space.
There's always space for beauty. There's always, it will, awareness itself will, love is not going to be denied. We are, last night, Sandy and I are in the bath, and we're looking at we're watching the water drain out of the tub.
Right.
And we were caught up yesterday in a little drama, not no big thing, but in a little drama, some fragmenting, got small, wrapped up in a little story for a while. So we're watching the water go down the tub, and we thought, that little whirlpool, that is a movement of energy.
Yes.
That's how narratives work. That's how these they are carriers of energy.
Yes.
And we pull them into an organization, and it's very difficult to escape that. Yes. You will go down but the point wasn't so much that it was draining. The point was that it's very difficult to escape that kind of organization, that orbit.
Yes.
It has a certain kind of gravity to it, and a spin to it, and centrifugal, and there are forces there that keep you in there, and yet the whole bathtub itself is basically tranquil.
Right, exactly.
We're that.
Yeah, that's right. We're the bathtub.
So you have to remember, we begin to open, we become seasoned to a more mature understanding.
Yes.
Of our conditioned behaviors. And this little whirlpool, it's not fun, but it's familiar. It's not comfortable, but it's comfy.
Right. No, I get it. We
default to what is known. Never mind that it's a cluster. We default
yeah.
And it's very helpful to understand that I can be the bath, I can be the whole tub, or I can get very small and become that. It's a very powerful tool to do a reset.
Yes. Well, when you look at that spin of life going down the drain. It actually, when we're lost in a spin, that's sometimes how it feels. It feels like the life force is being drained out of us, and we're being squished. But all we need to do is sit back a little and notice that we're not that. We are that which is aware of it, which is simple to do if we remember. And just in seeing that, we become the bathtub, and the bathroom, and the building, and the planet, and the stars, and all the space in between.
And the whole system, which, by the way, is moving in a spiral. Even at that level, that macro level, it is moving in a whirlpool spiral. And then at the galactic level, it is moving in a spiral, the center of which are black holes. And so these are our personal. This is like the holodeck on the Enterprise.
Right.
This is our personal awareness put on the screen of the holodeck.
Yes.
It is the nature of our galaxy really spirals, and from here, from my localized self, I cannot know anything for sure, but I do know, I am as sophisticated as probably the next person around the facts that we collude on. and build.
Yes, there's a lot of collusion these days. Yes.
But these forces are what holds, they hold our narratives together.
That's right.
They generate, when we invest our consciousness into them, they generate their own dreaming rules. We
Right.
suddenly have gravity, we're suddenly held to it, and
Yes, yes.
more insidious, our fixed ideas are held.
Mhm.
And we can easily be fragmented. Anything that comes along the path of our daily life that is similar, remotely similar, or the same as anything that in our past experience has conflicted with those fixed ideas, and we become outraged, and or we collapse, or
Right.
we get activated. I like to think of some of the process of becoming lucid as the discovery that we are consciously moving through our own subconscious. Putting on the lights, putting on the light. You want to see what your subconscious looks like? Look at your body.
Right.
Then look at your body as expressed in the chair and in the room you're sitting in.
Yes.
And then look at your community, and then look and do so without being triggered, and without doubling down on it should be this way or should be
Right, without judgment.
do so with love. Anyone who had been involved in the narratives that we can think of as the whirlpool, anybody who'd been sucked into those whirlpools would come to the same conclusions and make similar kinds of decisions about life. Anyone. So you can have some compassion for yourself and all your other selves.
Right. Right. It's true. That compassion is so important. Yeah, and I love that analogy of the water going down the drain, because one of the things we forget when we get caught up in a whirlpool is we think it's a permanent whirlpool. But the nature of every whirlpool, it's created by the fact that it's ending. That whatever psychological suffering you're in, it may appear to take time to end, but it's ending. The whirlpool is what happens as the water goes down the drain. And the drain in this analogy is just returning to the source, returning to that which gave it life. So
we can, fortunately, we can expedite we can accelerate the ending of these whirlpools by discovering some of the mechanics of how we operate. And I know personally, I think it's safe to say each of us has a familiar emotional destabilizing theme.
Yes, we all have our favorites.
We have a favorite that's followed us all through life. If our listeners, if anyone goes back in their memory, you see if you can identify without a lot of thought, a feeling. Usually, we remember it in the body, and then afterwards we create thinking around it, names, but a feeling that happens. Especially, it shows up when you're hurt, or you feel humiliated, yes, or rejected, or insecure, or sad. That feeling. That feeling has been with me for as long as I can remember, and it comes back and it comes back, and I realize it's a core theme that is, and every single interaction arises out of a strategy to. I'll be specific. So for me, it's it sounds like I'm not good enough, or I'm unlovable, or I'm bad, or I didn't do it right, or I'm stupid, or I'm too much, or I don't belong. And every single interaction with everyone, good or bad, is some kind of an accommodation. That is at the bottom of it.
Right. Well, actually, you know what? There's something deeper.
Yes, I'm ready to hear that.
Well, it's very simple. It's very simple. That is still attached to some form of identification with the sense of I or me.
Yes, what's deeper is what we're talking
No,
about.
no, I understand that. But in between where they meet is still that there's the hook that it's spinning around. And when you check to see if you actually are that one or you're that which is aware of it, that unhooks the entire spin.
Unhooks it all.
Right.
Unhooks it all. To be able to say, you're absolutely right. To be able to say, I am aware of this theme.
Yes.
Now you've swung open the door to freedom and to joy and to an end to struggle.
Yes.
Yeah, that's precisely it. That's exactly
Yes.
it.
Yes. And you've been talking about your ways of bringing awareness to your life this whole conversation, which has all been beautiful.
Yeah.
So I had just looked at the time. I don't know where it went.
Oh no.
So before we end, is there any a parting gift you have for everybody that you'd like people to take away with them?
Sure.
You'd like us to take away with us?
Sure. There's always parting gifts.
Yes.
Remember the love.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation with award-winning filmmaker, educator, and transformational coach, Barnet Bain. You can learn more by visiting his website, barnetbain.com. That's Barnet, B-A-R-N-E-T, Bain, that's B-A-I-N.com, barnetbain.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe so you have immediate access to future episodes. Please give us a 5-star rating and share it with the people you care about. If you'd like to learn more about my work, my mentor Lester Levinson's work, and the Sedona method, please visit Sedona.com. As you explore our site, you'll learn the key to lasting happiness, success, peace, and emotional well-being. We have books, courses, events, and plenty of free material to explore. Again, go to Sedona.com. That's Sedona.com. Thank you for being here, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Letting Go and the Greatest Secret.